All righty. So here we go. You ready?
Knock me down and steal my teeth. I think I am.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
This is Jeremy from Oral Facial Implant Specialist in Deer Park, Illinois, and you are listening to Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Thank you for that intro. I'm David Sims with HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. Joining me is Donna Grindle of Cardin. How's it going, Donna?
Kind of chill.
Yeah, kind of chill.
Kind of chill. Lots going on around me, but I'm just kind of letting that happen. Just kind of chill.
Is it chaotic around you or just stuff?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of stuff done around the house.
Yeah, me too. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's very chaotic around me. And like I was telling you earlier before we started recording, it's like I need a vacation. I just don't need to go anywhere. I just need everything else to go somewhere.
You used to say that about the kids, and then,
Yeah.
it's everything else now.
I know. Now I'm calling them. I'm like, when are you coming home? It's too quiet around here.
It's so hard as we loop back around our lives.
I know. So,
But we're ready to rock and roll today.
we're going to talk about some 2020 data breach statistics.
Oh, yeah, there's some good news. I mean, of course, always not so good news, but some good news for healthcare in the annual Verizon data breach investigation report.
Yeah, and it's very unusual for healthcare to have good news.
I know. I'm excited. And it's how we're doing is important.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. And there's only so much that they can do looking at it from outside the industry, but these are serious data geeks. So, I get excited whenever it comes out because they get to tell me about methodology, and they even have stuff on teaching people how to read the charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we do have stuff to hit before then.
Yep.
We got some cool stuff.
Yep. So as always, make sure you subscribe to our podcast and share it out and all that good stuff. But we do have an announcement about the 2020 HIPAA Boot Camp.
I know.
The COVID sessions, August 18.
Virtual COVID session.
I know. It's like, do we call it virtual? Do we call it the online version? No, I don't know. So anyway, but here's the thing is I think last week we mentioned that we had like 7 slots left. I think we're down to like 3.
Yeah.
So August 18, 19, 20, we have like 3 slots left. So
I know, it's great. I mean, but it's merging the folks that were interested in the West Coast class and the East Coast class. So it kind of makes sense that we would fill it up. But I'm excited about it because we're going to have a lot of varying viewpoints, and that's when it makes it good.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what we need to call it. It is virtually in person.
It's virtually live.
It's virtually in person.
It's virtually impossible. That's what it is. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, making this, super interactive and all that is challenging. And the guy's like, "There's no way you can do it." And I'm like, "Nah, we can do it."
We're going to try.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, because we're doing some interesting things. So I can't wait to hear the feedback that we get.
Yeah, it's not going to be a webinar, so it's going to be.
It is a 3-day meeting, fully interactive.
Yeah, the downside to it though has nothing to do with the HIPAA boot camp. It's just the fact that people are already talking about Zoom fatigue.
I know, right?
And it's like, darn it. By the time we get to the boot camp, everybody's going to be like, oh, another online meeting.
Yeah, but at least this is not like, okay, I've got back-to-back, hour after hour, different kind of meetings and different. You just connect to us and hang with us all day with your people.
Yep. Yeah, we'll even show you how to change the background on your Zoom.
Oh, no, let's don't start that. Okay, so, yes. And we're not going to, make a background that makes you think that we're teaching you.
So let me tell you what I did on a Zoom call yesterday.
Oh, no.
So I'm on a Zoom call yesterday, and I screenshot one of the other people, and I put that screenshot as my background, but I was standing in the same place they were standing, so they couldn't see themselves. They could only see that I was in the same room they were in. And I didn't say anything. I just sat there, and you could see this look on their face, like complete confusion. Like,
how did you mirror me?
It's like, wait a minute. He's looking around like, is he standing in the room? It's so hilarious, man. It's like, how was he in the same room I'm in?
Yeah. This is what happens. This is what happens left to his own devices. We have to keep him occupied.
It reminds me of the first time you and I met. So I'm taking this course, and it's a webinar course, and nobody can see anybody else. It was just you were talking over slides, but if I sent a chat thing in, you were the only one that could see it. And so I was constantly through the whole thing making wisecracks.
And I would pause, and he knew he was doing it. Yeah,
so that was,
should have known then. Run.
That was the first time that Don and I ever virtually met each other. And even then I was pushing her buttons.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah. So,
but the HIPAAbootcamp.com, August 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's all virtual. It doesn't matter where you are. If you got an internet connection, audio and video connections, we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. We beefed up our bandwidth for those people in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
That way we can
bless your little pea-picking hearts
to
join us from Hawaii at 3 a.m.
Oh, that's terrible.
I know.
But it's still daylight at 3 a.m. though, I think.
Well, they just have to pretend that they're here.
Yeah. I don't know.
Pretend you're on vacation. You're not even home. That's what we want everybody to do.
I was in Hawaii. I was in Hawaii back in the day, and it was like midnight, and the sun was out. It freaked me out. I was like, what is this?
I think people were messing with you then. So anyway,
that could be a thing.
Go to thehippabootcamp.com, sign up for the last few seats. Hopefully there'll be some, but it'll automatically stop. Thankfully, we have technology tools.
Yeah. If you go to register and it's already full, just go ahead and pay, and we'll register you for the next one. We just don't know when that'll be.
All right, moving right along.
All righty. So thanks again to our donors, and keep the donations coming in. We almost have enough to buy a cup of coffee. So thanks so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. It does make a difference where we can go, hey, how much money we have in the hopper if we want to buy something.
Yep. Which
nice.
We're looking at new microphones now. It's like we need to increase our professionalism.
Upgrade the sound.
Yeah, I mean, we've only had these for what, 4, 5?
We got them that first year.
Yeah, 5 years. So these have served us well. All right. So after the break, we're going to dive into some interesting things. You're going to learn about something that I didn't know about.
Yeah, we got some other news, and then we'll get into the data breach.
Yeah, sure will. So we'll be right back.
Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar industry and growing. How confident are you that your computer network can withstand a cyber attack? Can you afford to take the chance that what you have today will protect you? Call us and find out if the cybersecurity in your business is something you should be concerned about, or if you can rest easy knowing your business is protected. Visit us online at securityfirstit.com. That's securityfirstit.com. And schedule a time to talk.
Did you know that 83% of healthcare organizations report a strong negative impact to their bottom line after a data breach? So many doctors think that they're HIPAA compliant and have nothing to worry about. Many of those organizations thought the same thing before it happened to them. Call Cardin today at 678-292-5001 so they can assess your practice and help ensure you are protected and prepared. Visit cardinhq.com to learn more. All right. So, Donna, you want to talk about contact tracing apps?
Yeah, we had our regular company meeting, and they brought up, they had a question asking for some guidance on, all these contact tracing apps are coming out, and it's hitting in the updates of your phone where you have the option of turning it on. So the concept is that you turn this on, and if you are diagnosed, you get tested positive for COVID-19, then you can log into this app and say, I've tested positive, and it'll notify you, everyone that you've been near that's also using the app, that they've been exposed.
Yeah, I can see that being abusive from a lot of different angles.
I know. And so they were like, well, what do you think? And, I don't know about you. I had already been looking into it and didn't need to skip a beat. Not a fan.
I don't even like the fact that my phone comes up and asks me like 15 minutes after I get home, how was your meal at so-and-so? And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that there's some things that you can allow to happen. There's some conveniences in life, and then there's some not so convenient things in life, right?
Yeah. And the bad thing about it is you're always turning on, your Google Map or Waze or whatever. So you're telling everything to track you all the time. And I know it's there and doing it, but I don't like to be reminded of it. And I hate
if you ever try to, and it's not easy to find, but you can find the details that Google keeps up with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really terrifying if you dig down and find your data and see what they know. And
I still, it still drives me nuts that my phone listens to me when I talk about obscure stuff. It starts showing up in my news feed and my Amazon feed and Facebook feed.
Yeah, I think you should test that.
No, I have. It absolutely shows up. I was talking about something.
I'm going to give you a topic and we're going to test it.
What was it I was talking about? It was something last week. I don't remember what it was, but it was something crazy like I've never talked about it before. And I started getting news stories about it. I started seeing it show up in other feeds, and I was like, this is crazy.
I think it's an Android problem.
It might be. It might be.
So, but speaking of that, both Google and Apple, and that is a scary thing. And so I linked to this one article when I was following up on stuff, and I saw this article, and I was like, that makes all the points of the things I'm worried about.
Okay.
When you have the Electronic Frontier Foundation and 200 different scientists and the ACLU and all these people releasing reports about all their concerns about potential privacy and cybersecurity risk, and they encourage the developers to consider this when they're building the APIs and drafting privacy policies. I worry about that when they're not doing it on the fly. Know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So I certainly, no. I think it's great, but you know what? We need more information for contact tracing anyway. Let's let that happen the way it happens.
Yeah. It's one of those toss-up things where people are like, do I want safety or do I want privacy? And how much am I willing to give up to get one or the other?
Yeah, I suppose if you have to go out and be around tons of people, it might be okay. But I don't know. There are too many gaps in the process. They're doing it on the fly. There's a ton of data that'll be accumulating, and what do you think is going to happen to it? So
I can see somebody just, doing like fake things with it. Like, oh yeah, I got COVID. Ha ha ha.
Oh, I know.
Freaking everybody out.
Yeah.
Because what are they going to do? Are they going to charge you?
Well, and then you're and the other part of that is you're trusting that other people will actually put it in the app that they have tested positive.
I can't tell you that. It's against HIPAA.
Oh my. So that takes us on to our next pieces. We have two other confusing, clearly misunderstood, or abuse of the use of HIPAA.
Yeah, I actually found one in the wild today.
I know, all by yourself.
I know. I wasn't even really working. I was like at an auction somewhere. And I was completely bored waiting on something that I was looking at to come up. And I'm scrolling through and there's a HIPAA.
Right there.
Showed up.
It's in the headline.
I know.
In the Chattanooga, what is it? WDEF.com.
Yeah.
News 12 now in Chattanooga. And now it's built into their tags, their URLs, all these things. And did you, like, the minute you saw the headline, I got to go look at that?
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. So there's two issues.
Yeah.
First of all, the headline, COVID-19 cases in the workplace and HIPAA rules.
Yep.
And then you look at the tags and coronavirus COVID-19, pristine, perfect. HIPAA, not so much.
I'm like, you can't expect their people's HIPAA program to be very good when they still can't spell it.
Well, yeah, that's what we say. But, first of all, whoever wrote the article versus whoever did the headline and the tag, clearly not the same person, because the person that wrote the article did it properly. And there's two different names that are credited to it, which made it a bit confusing. So we're not going to name the names. But here's the other thing. I mean, did you read the article or did you just make fun of the HIPAA?
I just made fun of it and immediately sent it to you. Because I was like, I found one. It's almost like the word search things.
Yeah, that's what you feel like you're doing.
I found it. Yes, I found it.
Well, the thing is that the article again provides that misunderstanding of HIPAA law. So it's talking about that. Here's the quote. Some employers have not been real forthcoming with other employees when they do have positive tests. But to me, that's a case-by-case basis. Like I said, they may have said, I don't want anybody to know. Well, again, put yourself in the employer's position. Well, I need to tell everybody, but then this person has HIPAA rights, They do have a right to privacy. I am not disagreeing that they have a right to privacy, but it has nothing to do with HIPAA. And they're like, while most people assume if someone in their workplace tests positive for COVID-19, their employer would tell them. But due to HIPAA rules, some employers are not legally allowed to disclose this information if that person does not sign a HIPAA waiver.
Has nothing to do with that.
I know. You've got a choice to make. If you do divulge it, they may sue you over a HIPAA violation. Where that would go, I don't know. It would go nowhere. I think under the current climate, I don't think too many courts would be very sympathetic to a plaintiff if they refuse to allow their employer to divulge. It has nothing. And then he says most employers he represents would risk a HIPAA violation rather than not tell. You stand up for what you don't need to. Because, they need to talk to the health department. Let the health department do their contact tracing. You talk to the health department. Here's my list of employees. Let's figure this out. And you have a plan. You talk to your employee. This is a thing. But unless you are a HIPAA-covered entity who is self-insured, that's the other thing. Not a HIPAA. You're a covered entity if you're a business that's self-insured, which we talked about last week with Tom, somebody's question, Jack's question. Anyway, if you're self-insured, you're a covered entity. Right, David?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's only a tiny part, that's its own little section. So you already should know what you must and must not do with your HIPAA information in there. You're probably not going to even know in your claims, pay in the claims section that somebody tested positive by the time everybody else does. If you're the covered entity, a provider, and you're treating an employee, that falls under HIPAA.
So the question I have though is, did they do their homework? And if so, who did they get to consult them on this article?
I'm trying to figure that out. because it starts with, HIPAA, employers are often bound by HIPAA rules and regulations. No, not really.
No, they're often not.
I'm not. I mean, it's a very specific scenario.
So do we call this fake news?
We call it confusing news because there are some cases, it's not a complete, but it's, I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they talk to, like, let's say the city of Chattanooga, which probably is a covered entity.
But some sections of it are.
Right.
But not all of it.
But whoever they talk to only knows that HIPAA applies to them, and so they assume it applies to all businesses.
Well, here's the thing, and you can try to read it and see if you can make it out. But the thing that I never got is they're doing all these quotes of people, and so I don't know. Is it this person? There's 2 reporter names. It's not clear to me. So News 12's Becca Birdsall talks about the difficult decisions employers face. And so I guess that's who's making this. So that's somebody that works for News 12.
Well, the byline is not that person.
I know. So it's very confusing who the source of the information really is, but you don't know. I mean, there's probably privacy rules that apply. It's just don't use HIPAA as that, because you know what? If you're having to protect that information due to HIPAA, that means you need to be doing way more stuff than just worrying about whether or not you can be sued. Because if HIPAA actually applies to you, this is the least of your worries if you have not done any of the other things. So I'm just saying, first of all, the headline, the tag, the URL, HIPAA.
Just sign the HIPAA waiver and you'll be good.
Mm-hmm. But the
just don't read articles. Listen to us, and you'll be fine.
But they're like, don't expect your employer to do the contrary. I mean, they are doing a service trying to educate people. That's good, but you need a little bit more information before you go up in here.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
Which leads us to maybe
another misuse of HIPAA that you just learned about the concept.
I learned, I didn't know there was this thing where calling somebody a Ken or a Karen
Karens
is a thing. And I was, it took
people named Karen are fed up.
I know. So I click on the link and I'm like reading it. I'm listening to the video, and then I see all this stuff about Karen, and I'm like, I don't get it. Are they tracking some lady named Karen, or what's going on? And then, as I scroll to the top, I'm like, oh, it's a terminology for something. How far behind am I?
It's the latest meme.
Apparently I'm slacking on my memeology.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much going on out there, David. You're going to have to get your head out of your armpit.
But look, the bad thing is, though, like I can see me literally wasting 3 hours of my day watching these things because they are so hilarious at how crazy people are. So part of me is
people are insane.
Part of me is like, dude, this is crazy. I got to watch this. The other part of me is like, no, I can't, because I will get nothing done. Darn you, Donna.
Well, this one came across me because, okay, so there's a lot of this going on. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I mean, the bottom line is, I don't even know why this is a political statement. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Anyway.
I wonder if
let's don't go there.
I wonder if the ninja clans had to worry about that.
I know, right?
I'm not wearing that ninja mask.
So for some reason, and whoever it is, that people feel like they are absolutely going to do everything they can, including lie. And we'll get to that in a minute. Including lie, to prevent them from following the rules in place about wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of these cases, and some of them are Karens, as they say. Some of them are all, it's all over the place. But, there's stores and restaurants that say, you can't come in here without wearing a mask. It's no shirt, no shoes, no service. Same stuff. It's the health department rule kind of thing. And
just
we're in the middle of this.
Just a year ago, they had signs on the door. It's like, you can't come here wearing a mask.
I know, right? And but the thing is that if you're going to argue whether this is a public health emergency and a public health requirement, that the business has the right to protect the health of their staff, okay, you don't go there. Don't go there. Find another place to go or order online. And even this, so this woman, and we'll have a link so you can see the video for yourself. You really don't have to. It's only 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Well, yeah, that is, but you're going to go down a rabbit hole watching the other videos. So I'm just going to tell you, go ahead and carve out an hour of your day.
That's what happened to David. But I mean, it's insane, that what people are doing, not just these masks, but a lot of other things, calling the police and I'm going to get you arrested for what? Putting something in your own yard. What? Okay. Anyway, there's a long story there. But anyway, this woman she goes up and the guy out front says, you have to be wearing a face covering. We'll be happy to give you one. And she goes, well, I'm going to need to talk to, and she's already got attitude right away. So that's a red flag.
Yeah. Well,
I need to talk to the manager.
Well, the other thing is she literally walks up already videoing. So,
yeah, she's doing it. She's like, get the rise out of somebody.
Right. I'm going to cause a problem. I'm going to start recording as I'm walking up to the door of the store.
Yeah, and that I need to speak to a manager. Apparently, that's one of the classifications to land you as a Karen or a Ken.
Ah.
I need to speak to the manager. I'm just going to skip right by everybody because I need to talk to who's in charge because I'm really in charge. But at any rate, so the guy's just like, okay, it must be something they're used to. He goes over, waves. Here comes the manager. How can we help you? And she says, I need to come in here without a mask. I have a medical condition that I can't wear a mask. And my medical condition, it says I'm not allowed to wear a mask. Not allowed. Because of this, quote, mysterious medical condition. And I'm not required under HIPAA rules and regulations to disclose that. I would have loved to have been walking by because on the video you would have seen me fall down laughing.
I wonder how she gets through a doctor's visit.
I know, right?
So what's the problem today, ma'am? I can't tell you.
I know, right? I have a problem, but I can't tell you about it because HIPAA says I don't have to disclose that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could hear it in her voice, that her intent, she had it all planned out that she was going to tell him she had a medical condition, which, by the way, I did research on that because I get asked about that crap too. And I can't find any doctor who could come up with a specific medical condition. Certainly not one as widespread as the number of these Karens that are saying it. Apparently, there's a ton of them. This is the only one I was said that actually use HIPAA rules as the reason that they couldn't tell. They would using all kinds of things. I have my right to privacy. I don't have to tell you what my HIPAA or what my medical condition is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look, do you have a note from your doctor? Mm-hmm. And then they're pulling out these fake cards. I don't know if you've seen those, but they actually print fake cards that says it's a mask exemption authorization card from some fake doctor's names. They're trying that now.
I can't
just
wear
to
this
not
mask.
wear a mask in a store.
I have been diagnosed.
Don't go to the store.
I've been diagnosed with halitosis. I cannot wear this mask.
That's it, But I mean, the doctors were like, maybe if you had some major paranoia about wearing a mask, but you probably wouldn't want to be out and around people if you had that kind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had some sort of skin allergy where you broke out, maybe, but use a different one that's hypoallergenic. I couldn't find a medical condition that would be that widespread that really exists. So anytime they're claiming that, and they'll even say, I have a note from my doctor. Well, ask them for it. and then let me call your doctor. I'm going to call him right now. But unfortunately, there are places that are closing down because they're taking so much harassment for people who refuse to wear if you want the business to have the ability to set the rules to protect their employees, then go with it. And if you don't like their rules, go somewhere else. That's just kind of the way we work. But HIPAA, and I bet if she wrote it down, it'd be I am not required under HIPAA rules and regulations to disclose what my medical condition is that says I'm not allowed to wear a mask, and you have to let me in, even though it's breaking your rules. What part of that makes sense as a business owner? I mean, what would you do?
I would say go somewhere else.
There you go. But the guy was really nice in the video. He goes, well, great. I understand. He didn't try to argue with her. He just said, we'll shop for you. Just give us your list. We'll be happy to shop for you. And it was like, I don't remember what she said. I only got to the HIPAA part and paid attention and started making my notes. But it was something about she didn't want to tell them what she wanted. They could stock the store. They know what's in it. I don't know. Maybe she could have pulled HIPAA out for that too. But she refused to do that too. So it was clear. People are willing to lie just to avoid wearing a paper surgical mask. And don't be blaming HIPAA. Blame something else. Pick some other story. Whoever is it? Karen, Wanda, Belinda. I don't know what your name's going to be, but don't blame HIPAA.
So I did look it up, and there is a maskophobia.
Yeah. So give me your doctor's name. But again, rather than you going in the store without a mask, let me shop for you and bring things out to you.
Yeah. But then she says, no, actually she didn't say this, but it would surprise me if she didn't say it's a violation of PCI compliance for her to hand her credit card over to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like you can't have it all these ways at the same time. And it's clearly that you are just determined for some, I don't even understand why. What's in the psyche that says, I am going to get past you and do this? There was one where a dude tackled a guy, like came at him like he was running back through the line. And the young guy at the door was like, what the,
Yeah.
what is it? What is it?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
You just have a subset of people who basically are not going to be told what to do. They're like, whatever it is, I'm going to do the opposite of that. If they were to come up and say, you absolutely cannot wear a mask in this store, then she would be sitting there going, I'm coming here with a mask. I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's two lines. For the ones that think they should wear a mask, here's your door. And for the ones that think you shouldn't, then you're not allowed. But this is your door. I don't know. I mean, but
I would just have one of those rotating doors.
Right.
Just go right in and come right back out.
Like the comedy ones, the comedy movies where they get stuck in them. I've actually seen people get stuck in them. But anyway,
that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it's sad. But at any rate, don't blame HIPAA. We talk about this all the time. If there's a rule that you can't do something, don't blame HIPAA. Don't blame HIPAA when you can't put sheets on a bed. Don't blame HIPAA. That you're telling employees don't tell because it's of HIPAA. And, no, it doesn't apply to you unless you meet these narrow standards. So off you go. And then one other news before we get into our report is, we've been talking about the home teleworking. And if you're not worrying about this stuff and you're working from home, you just cruising for a bruising. But it's another Netgear router vulnerability.
No.
These things are deployed all over the place in people's homes.
Yep, because they're cheap and they're over the counter at your local, any kind of store.
Yeah. Office supply, whatever, you're going to be able to find these things. So there are multiple ones. We gave out another CISA alert a couple of weeks ago about home router vulnerabilities. And we're going to get to that in just a minute about the importance of it, because they talk about it in at least the vulnerability to let somebody in and take over. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep. All righty. So here we go. You ready?
Well, knock me down and steal my teeth. I think I am.
All right. Let's get into the 2020 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, which for short we'll call the DBR. The
VDBR.
The VDBR. And
VDBR.
So they did a study on 3,950 breaches, and most of those were in Atlanta. Not really. It's just, it seems like that.
I know it does. It does. It absolutely. It's in the Southeast. We'll go with that.
Yeah. But of that, they also analyzed a record total of 157,525 incidents. Woo.
That met their quality standards, because these are true data geeks.
I know. So,
well, go ahead.
Yeah. No,
There's a lot of
when I read that, I just thought about the part that comes up a lot of times in the business associate agreements, where it's like, you shall notify me of all security incidents. And I'm like, first of all, the guy who wrote that, I really, really, really want to take him out to dinner. and take him out back in the alleyway. I'm like, what?
Yeah. But yeah, that's a very good point, that they talk to all these folks and evaluate 157,525 incidents to consider for their data breach investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And of those, how many of those incidents were included?
Well, yeah, it was 32,002 met their standards. And, I guess of that.
To evaluate.
Right. And of that, 3,950 were actual breaches. So
there you go. That's why you don't want people following the letter of the contract. Because that's a lot of data.
Yeah. I mean, I almost want to do it one time. Just like, okay, fine. If that's what you want, that's what you'll get.
And start sending it to them.
Yeah. Here, every day, here's your 400-page report.
Yeah. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah.
I did that one time in a group discussion. I was like, here, let me go get you one. And just pulled a list and pasted it and sent the document out. There you go. That's what you're going to see, except hundreds of those.
Yeah.
But anyway, the cool thing is that in this year, this is the 13th year. So they've got tons of data. It's like, the Poneman Institute on healthcare data breaches. They really have tons of data now where they can get these trends and really see what's going on. And they did open with a really nice quote that explains what they're intending the report to be.
Mm-hmm.
Experience is merely the name men gave to their mistakes.
Yeah, whoever writes these things, they're hilarious.
Great.
I mean, like on page 4, the bottom, like in the footnotes, it's like footnote number 1. Check the new chart. Who dis? In the couple of tidbits section of the 2019 report. No.
I know. It's great.
Who dis?
Who dis? And there's some other stuff. It's just awesome in here. But what they added this year, so they've got 16 verticals. I think they added a couple of verticals they looked at. And they also are now providing an alignment to the SYS-20 to show you if you were doing these things, this would be better.
Yeah. Or did you see?
Great idea.
I don't know why I like to see the footnotes, but did you see the footnote on page 5?
No.
You have to look. I'm not going to even tell you.
Okay. I'm going to have to go to page 5 because David says we cannot move forward without me going to page 5. And that's where they teach you about the charts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about what the value is here. We made it up to make the charts pretty, and don't worry later either. We'll use a real value for the rest of the dot plots. We made it up to make it look pretty.
That's a footnote.
Yeah. See, and so you should read the footnotes.
Yeah, they're funny.
So we learned a lot, though. I thought there's it's some different trends than what we've seen recently. Not different and surprising, but they narrowed it down. The good news is 89% of the breaches are 3 different tactics. Boom.
Yep. So if you just look at these 3 and kind of 89% reduction.
And 17% is one of the other fourth ones. So add in another 17%, you get most of those 4 things. You get most of what the attacks are.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love, I don't know if you saw this, that they said if you have questions or whatever, contact us here. If you don't like that we use the term hacking, contact us here. Which, a lot of folks are kind of having an issue with that. But anyway, hacking, 45%. And this one, I've been trying to find a better definition of what errors were casual events. I'm kind of thinking it was more like what we would call negligence.
Yeah.
But that and social attacks, both of those at 22%, and then 17% malware. So there you go. If you worry about hacking, casual events, social attacks, and malware, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do, right?
That's it. We're done.
All you got to do is. Now, this was different, though. The perpetrators.
Yeah.
The perps. But 70% of these things that they're talking about, external actors. Just kind of general terms. 55 of that was organized crime.
Right. So it's not a guy that should just go get a job.
I know, right?
I don't know why people still say that. Well, they just go get a job. It is their job.
They address that in here. And 30% internal actors.
All right. So we have a 70-30 split here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good news that it's not primarily internal actors, I guess.
Yeah. So just look around. 30% of your workforce is going to end up causing you problems.
Yeah. But then they got into, now, and I thought this was interesting. We haven't seen this much, but it also could have to do with their data set that they did. That 72% were large businesses victims and 28% were small business victims. And that could indeed have a lot to do. But either way, they don't go after small. It's 70-30 split still.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then here's the scary part. 58% had some sort of personal data compromised.
Yeah.
You wonder why people have your stuff. There's a reason they have your stuff. I do love that 86% financially motivated. Some level of financial motivation. And then, why is it that we always have to talk about passwords? Because 37% of the breaches were stolen, or either they stole the credentials or they used somebody's credentials that they readily got to some other way.
Yep.
They were tricking them. They didn't just steal it.
Still a problem.
And of course, ransomware of the malware, a third of that's ransomware, and 22% of all the breaches involve some sort of phishing.
Mm-hmm.
So really and truly, we're worried about the right things. It sounds like what we've been talking about. 2-factor authentication, ransomware, big problem. Phishing's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Financial motivation, organized crime. Quit thinking it is nothing. But they do have a thing, and we'll see what you think about this thought. That you have insiders versus insiders kind of thing, because they say, nevertheless, it's a widely held opinion that insiders are the biggest threat to an organization's security, but one that we believe to be erroneous. Admittedly, there is a distinct rise in internal actors in the data set these past few years, but it is more likely to be an artifact of increased reporting of internal errors rather than evidence of actual malice from internal actors. And I think that's the key piece, that we see things differently than the way they're classifying things. Because an insider is an insider is an insider. They're divided into 3 categories within that, and they're only counting if it's malicious.
Right.
But the intentional, non-malicious, and negligent, those are still insiders.
Yeah.
That the data breach came from. At least, that's my opinion.
I agree.
Well, then we're done.
Yeah. I mean,
David has agreed with me.
If they're insiders, they're insiders. Their intent does not matter. I'm sorry, I didn't intend for you to have a breach.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's fair enough of what they're doing and how they're looking at the data. I get that. But the fact that it's mostly financial attacks by outsiders is the number one cause. But how they're getting in is social engineering and phishing. We've already touched on that. So to me, it kind of, you have to include it with what we do.
Yeah.
Very different than I'm just slicing and dicing.
Yeah. It's like an outsider came into my home and stole stuff, but an insider opened the door and let them in.
I know, right? And then I love this, that they made it clear, all those people who say, I don't have anything they want, I don't care about security. They made it very, very clear that they went and searched on the criminal forums and the underground and all that. And there's a good bit, 5% of all the different things that are for sale out there somehow references a service. And when they looked into that, it's, they said the simple fact is this: if you leave your internet-facing assets so unsecured that taking them over can be automated, the attackers will transform your infrastructure into a multi-tenant environment, i.e., the criminal's going to use your stuff to attack other people.
Mm-hmm.
So now you just join the organized crime, part of the racket.
Yeah, why don't you get a job somewhere else?
And they made another very important point is that while financial requirements are why the initial attack occurs, they will then pivot for secondary utilization. Well, I'm in here. Let me see what else I can do. I can use your equipment to attack somebody. I can do all of these other things while I'm in here, not just financial.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that secondary piece that we hear about. And it's really all about organized crime.
Yep.
And it's no longer that bunch of people in the dark basement in a hoodie. Because I think that if that's what you still picture as a hacker, which unfortunately is what everybody does a picture of when they talk about hackers.
Yeah, they do.
It's like imagining what you would think if you saw someone walking down the street using an old flip phone. Not a new flip phone that they still have out there, but one of the old ones that everybody thought was cool in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way that we look at when you're thinking of that being a hacker, that you're the person using the flip phone from 2006 today.
The Motorola StarTAC.
I know. They, wear it with pride. Go ahead. But definitely, a lot of good stuff. That's overall. And then, of course, they have to dip into healthcare specifically, which we've been watching. And their summary about healthcare: financially motivated criminal gangs continue to target this industry via ransomware attacks. You think?
Yeah.
Here, though, is because they had talked about everywhere else, this has gone down. Lost and stolen assets also remain a problem in our incident data set. Basic human error is alive and well in this vertical. Misdelivery grabbed the top spot among error action types, and internal misuse has decreased. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So we've improved. Good news. That's I guess where we can go with it, right?
Yeah. Any improvement is good news.
But 798 incidents, 521 with confirmed data disclosures. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Because in healthcare, they don't include what OCR classifies as a data breach in their data breaches. Same thing as with the insiders. They say if data isn't definitely exposed, we're not going to count it. So those 798 incidents, all of them may have been reported to OCR under a HIPAA data breach, not the data breach as defined by this report. So just keep that in mind that, yeah, things might be down, but they're not looking at what in healthcare you must classify as a data breach.
Yep. So all data breaches are not created equal.
And then where they're talking about, everything's great, internal's down, but guess what? Threat actors list in healthcare. External, 51%. Okay, great. They've been telling us that. That's your organized crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal, 48%. That is not great.
Nope.
Because, having a partner failure or multiple different kinds of breaches makes up the last 3%. So that means it's a 50-50 chance, internal, external. That's what we've been saying for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even somebody external. And financial, still the thing.
I like this.
For fun.
Yeah, I like that one.
It's for fun.
4% do it for fun.
Because they're in healthcare. Because I can or whatever. But they also point out that it isn't just the medical data that's compromised sometimes. Sometimes it's only personal data, which we have people do that when they're reporting a data breach, is they go through and, this patient's medical information wasn't exposed, only PII, not PHI.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two different things.
I do think it's interesting that they announced as one of their motives is convenience. And what do we say?
Yeah, that's true.
Security is not convenient. So they circumvent security for convenience, and it causes breaches.
Again, it's all about, and here they go. I mean, their point was that there was more PII exposed than PHI because there's a 10-point difference between those, but it doesn't really matter in the way we have to look at things.
Mm-hmm.
But then their top controls that they say would make things better. Number one, top thing that you should do in healthcare to make things better.
Same thing we've been talking about for 3 years at least.
At least.
Yeah. Implement a security awareness and training program.
Yeah. Number one.
Not buy this kind of technology, not implement multiple firewalls, not spend tons of money on, security. Implement a security awareness and training program.
And then second is boundary defenses, which are the things you're talking about. And data protection, which to me, that's more of access controls and those kind of things.
Yep. I saw an article, and I don't know if you and I will get into it or not on a future podcast, but the article was talking about companies that spend a lot of money on security are actually worse off.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Probably because you saw it and then just sent it to me to read. But
read this and tell me what it says.
Yeah. So, you're right. It's that we think that a lot of people are just trying to throw money at the problem instead of dealing with the problem.
Yeah.
And that's clear that throwing money at the problem will not fix it.
Right. Well, if you're throwing all the boundary defenses and data protection in there, but you're skipping the entire process of security awareness and training, then, that means 48% of your workforce is still going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So you still have problems, and you could take a huge chunk out of it just by doing the security awareness and training program, because don't just make people aware, but train them, because, oftentimes we hear that people are like, well, yeah, they're telling me not to do this, but I don't really know why. Well, that's because you're only doing awareness. You're not doing the actual training.
Well, and even then, it's the awareness. You're talking about the same. People are not going to listen to you if you're just talking about passwords again.
Yeah.
You got to go about it different ways and different approaches.
You should send your people to the boot camp.
Yeah, all the new training stuff Cardin's about to start rolling out is going to be aimed at that problem.
Yep.
So, but the other good news, this was good news, but then after I read it, they're like, yeah, we're not committing to saying this is a pattern. We don't know exactly why it happened. But what they classify as insiders issues had gone from 23% to 8.7%.
Oh, sweet.
So they're like, we're not quite sure if this is just a blip, so we're not committing to it.
That's because everybody's working from home now. And so,
Yeah. So then the last little bit that they included about healthcare is more of that fun stuff where they're talking about the time required to compromise and exfiltrate data has been getting smaller overall in the data set. But the time for an organization to notice that they've been breached isn't keeping pace. So they add a thing in here. There is a discrepancy. There's a discrepancy there somewhat akin to how long it takes you to earn your wages versus how long it takes for them to be taxed. Some attacks, by their very nature, will both happen quickly and be detected quickly. A good example is a stolen laptop. How long does it take someone to smash a car window and make off with the loot? And then they put in parentheses, this is a rhetorical question, so don't mail in answers. There is no prize for getting it right. But they make a point that there's a short duration in a lot of those, but this organized crime stuff and an insider who's decided to abuse their access to copy a small little bits of data each week and sell it to their buddy, and that's the ones we tell you are the scariest ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's financial gain that's really happening, and that couldn't be that. There's a chance that's not caught for a very long time, and the point is, it's taking smaller time to compromise and exfiltrate data, and the ability to recognize it is not keeping pace. And one of the ways that we suggest that you solve that is have all of your people paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. We're done.
All righty. That's some good stuff.
I know. Lots of stuff today, all over the board.
I know. Quit being a Karen. Now I got something
I want to talk to the manager.
I got something I can use against my wife now. She's probably as clueless as I was about it.
There's one I saw that I was telling you about it, where this woman, she was very bold with all of her Karen activity.
Mm-hmm.
But then when somebody started videoing her and calling her a Karen, she like freaked out. Don't call me a Karen. I'm not a Karen. But didn't you just do this? I don't want to talk about it. Oh my God. If you don't want to be called that, don't do it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
For today.
Yeah. Now I got to try to stay off that channel. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Remember to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media site. Rate us on our podcasting app and help us spread the word. And so remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.